Sabrina Haake, she's a federal trial attorney, 20 plus years, specializing in First and 14th Amendment defenses. Her legal and political essays have appeared in numerous law journals and publications, including the Chicago Tribune. She has an extraordinary, and I highly recommend, Substack newsletter. It's Sabrina Haake, Haake, sabrinahake.substack.com, or just plug Haake, Haake, into the little search engine over on Substack, and it'll pop right up. And Sabrina published this just brilliant piece about the don't fall for the trumped-up charges against Fani Wilies, which was also published over at Salon. Sabrina, welcome to the program. It's great to have you with us. Tell us about, the Washington Post wrote a piece about this a couple days ago in which they argued, in fact, I think it was in the third paragraph, they said that Fani Wilies having an affair with a guy who works in her office who is also helping to prosecute Trump could be a violation of ethics rules. How is that a violation of ethics rules if they're on the same side of the case? I get it if she was having an affair with one of Trump's defense lawyers, but I don't understand this.
Right. No, it isn't. Short answer. Long answer.
Thank you.
The mainstream media is just getting this wrong, and I understand why. A guy who was Michael Roman is an indicted co-conspirator with the Trump Georgia election interference case, and he was Trump's the election day operations director. He filed a 127-page brief 2 weeks ago, moving to disqualify Ms. Wilies and Mr. Wade from the case based on an alleged conflict of interest. And the tagline that mainstream media has picked up, which is really very offensive, is that they have been enjoying these lavish vacations at taxpayer expense. People need to understand that everyone who works for any unit of government, whether it's federal, state, local, municipal, county, they are all paid by taxpayer dollars. So under their analysis, anytime anyone takes a trip, if they are paid by taxpayer dollars, they're doing it at taxpayer expense. The conflict of interest piece of this is also convoluted and flatly wrong. It's not a conflict of interest if you're having a consensual affair with anyone, as long as they're not involved with the underlying case that you're prosecuting, in the sense that you're not going after a client, you're not hurting your client's interests. Mr. Roman is not their client. Their client is the Fulton County Prosecutor's Office, and their objective is a shared objective. It's not compromised in any way. What they want to secure is a conviction, if that's where the facts and the law lead, which we've all heard that phone call asking for 12,000, find me 11,780 votes. Everybody wants the same thing on the Fulton County client side of the bargain. Of course, Mr. Roman doesn't like it, but that doesn't make a conflict of interest. I've never heard of a romantic affair being a conflict of interest in any facts like this. I have more to say about the legal arguments, but I'll stop there and see if you want to talk about that specifically. But I also want to point out this tagline that he's constantly making, and he makes it throughout his brief. And I brought one of the exhibits from the brief to go over with you just very briefly because I think mainstream media has overlooked it. He keeps saying that Ms. Wilies hired Mr. Wade because he was her boyfriend. And the whole reason she retained his outside counsel on this prosecution of the election interference case was because they were romantically involved, and she wanted to take advantage of his income from this contract. However, there's a book that recently came out called Find Me the Vote, and I cite it in the Salon piece and in my Substack. Ms. Wilies went to two other lawyers, prominent attorneys, before she turned to Mr. Wade. One of them, Roy Barnes, was the former Georgia governor. The other one was Gabe Banks, and she wanted both of them to supervise this case, and they both said no because they were afraid of their personal safety. Mr. Barnes said, hypothetically speaking, do you want to spend the rest of your life with a bodyguard following you around? So they were afraid to take on this case, not without some rational, basis based on what all the threats that people have been getting in Georgia and elsewhere. So she tried to get two other attorneys to take on Mr. Wade's role before she handed it or offered it to Mr. Wade. So that, to me, blows his entire theory out of the water that she hired Mr. Wade because he was her boyfriend. It completely knocks it out. And then I have a specific response to the legal allegations in the complaint, but I want to stop there before I move on and give you a chance to
First
interject.
off, were they in a relationship before she hired him? I mean, I've heard also that this relationship started after he came to work for her.
There's an allegation that she has not, neither of them have come out in social media or mainstream media to deny it. Right. So I'm assuming, without any evidence, I'm assuming for purposes of my argument that they were. Right. And because worst case scenario, they were involved.
But again, so what? Right.
So what? It has nothing to do with Mr. Trump asking the Secretary of State to find 11,780 votes that didn't exist. It has nothing to do with Mr. Roman's alleged involvement in forgery, impersonating a government official, the slate elector, the slate of false electors. It's not related to that whatsoever. And again, the conflict of interest comes in when attorneys have a conflict that they're hiding from their client that will hurt their client. In this case, the client is Fulton County and the pursuit of justice, if that's where the facts and the law lead.
Right.
Of course, there are some people in the MAGA world, probably in Fulton County, who don't see it that way, who think that the very prosecution of Mr. Trump is illicit.
Right.
And
how dare
they're certainly alleging in this, basically saying brief that getting paid is illicit.
Right. So I want to emphasize a point that you made, which is that these people are paid with money from the state of Georgia as paychecks. I mean,
Right.
Wade, his law firm, has a contract, but the money that he gets out of that contract is coming to him as a paycheck. And Fani Willis draws a salary. And the one trip in particular, I think it was the Bahamas, it was in the Caribbean someplace, where they went, apparently was paid for with personal funds. Apparently he paid for the trip, at least that's the allegation, using personal funds. And this allegation is that that's government money that's being used because they took those funds as part of their pay. That doesn't make any sense to me.
It's ridiculous. I mean, and it doesn't even matter where they went or what they used their funds for. There's a passage in Mr. Roman's brief where he's talking about how Mr. Wade took money out of the same account where he had his Fulton County contract funds deposited. What BS? That just means he deposited his income, his paycheck, into his account, and then he used his personal account to go on a trip. Right. There's nothing that prohibits you from using your taxpayer income,
post-tax income,
contract or as an employee. There's absolutely nothing in the law whatsoever that restricts how you use your own money. And it's really irritating to me that mainstream media keeps repeating this tagline about lavish vacations at taxpayer expense. It's bogus. It's their own money. They can spend it on, grooming a flock of sheep if they want to. It's nobody's business how they spend their money.
There you go. We're talking with Sabrina Haake. She's the author of The Haake Take, a great newsletter over on Substack. Haake, Take is the title of it, and you can check it out. And Sabrina, you said that you have thoughts on the legal argument. You want to dig into that?
Right. So he makes a lot of boilerplate arguments. What lawyers do, I've been doing this for almost 30 years, and I've been a federal trial lawyer for many years. What lawyers will do if they don't have facts that meet the law is they will cite page upon page of what's called boilerplate legalese. He cites professional responsibility rules. He cites cases. He cites case law. And he doesn't ever go back and tie it to Mr. Willis and Mr. Wade, or Ms. Willis and Mr. Wade, because he can't. But the main legal argument he's making is that Ms. Willis hired Mr. Wade without any kind of permission from Fulton County. He devotes most of the real estate in this 127-page brief to alleging that she had zero permission from the Fulton County commissioners. Well, I want to show you, and I don't blame mainstream media for missing this, but it's kind of sloppy. This is Exhibit C. I want to read a couple of things from you. Again, Mr. Roman and his counsel are claiming that Ms. Willis had no authority. There was no paperwork granting her the authority to hire Mr. Wade. This is a resolution authorizing funding for additional personnel for the Office of Fulton County District Attorney Office. It says 5 different times that this is funding for increased felonious crime in Fulton County, election interference is a crime, prosecuting violations of criminal statutes, which is what was alleged in this case, and the current high crime rate and the increasingly high crime rate in Fulton County. Fulton County Commissioners gave Ms. Willis $5 million to hire additional personnel in calendar year 2022 and $780,000 in 2021. 2 months after Fulton County Commissioners signed this, I don't know if you can see their signature, but there it is. They signed this authority, this resolution, giving her the authority to do exactly what she did. And 2 months later, she hired Mr. Wade. So this claim that she didn't have Fulton County's permission is completely bogus. I think what Mr. Roman did was go out and talk to one Republican Trump supporter who said, well, she didn't talk to me and I'm on the commissioner. I'm a commissioner. But here you have Exhibit C, Mr. Roman, in your counsel. It's right here in your own pleadings.
Right.
So I think the whole thing is ridiculous. My biggest disappointment is that mainstream media keeps repeating it without reading the brief.
When does this achieve some resolution? I'm assuming it's before a judge, the
Yes.
appeal?
Yes, Ms. Willis is required to file her response on February 2nd. I'm guessing at that point she will talk about her work to get approval from the Fulton County Commissioners, right. And some of these things will be clarified. I mean, it's really about her own internal office hiring protocols, but his own exhibits blow his own case out of the water, and I think it's a sanctionable pleading that they filed. I'm not surprised that Georgia Republicans would do that, especially this event. I mean, I have nothing to say about Mr. Kemp. I think he's done some honorable things, as has Secretary of State George Raffensperger, but this is of a different ilk, and I think it needs to be stopped and called out.
Yeah, I'm with you. Sabrina Haake, federal trial attorney, 20 plus years, specializing in First and 14th Amendment defense. Political essays have appeared in law journals, publications, the most recent in Salon, but also Hake's Take, H-A-A-K-E's Take, over at Substack.com. Sabrina, thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
The Haake Take. Thank you.
Bye.
This is the Thom Hartmann Program.
It's 18 minutes past the hour. I'll be back with more of the news of the day and your calls right after this.